Good morning, Grace North. You all out there? Happy Sunday to you. Happy summer to you. Finally feeling like it out there, which I kind of love. It's good to see you all. Thanks for making time as you are traveling and busy even in the summer. We always love the fact that you guys are back here for Sunday mornings and spending it with us. We always want this time to be valuable for you and valuable for us to just spend time together in community, but also spending time with Jesus and His presence. And I know I felt it this morning. His presence is here with us in worship, and as we open His Word together, I hope the same. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Mike Critch. I serve as the location pastor here at Grace Ann Arbor North. I would love to meet you. Please, as Nicole said, meet some other people out there, but give me a chance to meet you as well. I would love to meet you and hear your story, and maybe we can grab coffee and talk about you, your family, how we can connect with you. Maybe you're new in Ann Arbor. I know some people around here, so I can get you plugged in with some people and maybe in a great circle of friends and relationships. As we start our conversation today, I've got a question for you. Have we ever found yourself in a place where you felt like you knew someone? Like you thought you knew who they were. And then something happened. Something changed. Something went awry. They did something where you were like, what? Who is this? Like you thought you knew who they were as a person. You thought you had a relationship, like a working knowledge of who they were, and then something changed and they showed their true colors. And you felt like you found out who they really are beneath the surface. Maybe it happened in a romantic relationship where you thought you got to know somebody in this dating relationship or whatever, and you found out through something that happened or something they did, something that hurt you maybe even, who they really were. Maybe it happened at work, and you met your boss, and you were like, hey, we're going to get along great. Nope. Right? Maybe something happened there where you thought you knew someone and something changed. Maybe it was someone in your family and they did something that doesn't really fit with how your family functions. And you find out something about their character, something about their personality, and you get blindsided by this stuff. It's a weird feeling, right? It can leave you feeling deceived, sometimes even betrayed. I'd be willing to bet in this room there's someone who feels that way with God. Maybe you feel like you thought you knew who God was. And something didn't go according to your plan. And you felt like you had been betrayed by God. Just because something didn't line up with what you expected, right? It's not because He did anything wrong. It's not because He intentionally hurt you, of course, right? Our God does not do that. But because your expectations weren't met. Something happened that wasn't supposed to happen the way it went down. And all of a sudden you felt like, do I really know who this is? We've been in the book of Hosea, and Hosea chapter 4 through 7, which we'll cover a couple more chapters today. There's really a controversy that's presented. God is talking to His people in such a way that He's communicating to them that they have let Him down. That they have betrayed Him. And this is the controversy that we see. So we'll talk about, we'll start in the first verse of the 4th chapter. We've been kind of taking it a chapter at a time, but chapter 4, verse 1, we'll cover through a couple chapters today. This is what Hosea says. Hear the word of the Lord, O children of Israel, for the Lord has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. There's no faithfulness or steadfast love and no knowledge of God in the land. No faithfulness, no steadfast love, and no knowledge. This is the controversy God's bringing to His people, and He's expressing to them that even though they are His people, the Israelites that have been called His nation has let Him down. They are not who He wanted them to be. And it was because not only of the faithfulness and steadfast love part, that's what we've been talking about over the last couple weeks. We used this picture of Hosea and his wife Gomer. And this picture of their marriage, this infidelity that plagued their marriage, that she was going to continually walk out on him and go live her old life. And that would be a part of their story, right? And that's really just the enactment, the illustration that sets the tone for what God is saying to His people in this book. That's what we see in the faithfulness and steadfast love part, that God is calling them out for not having any kind of faithfulness to Him, not any kind of steadfast love like He shows to us, we're not showing it back to Him. And that's what we saw, but it's interesting that after the first 3 chapters, we talked through 1, 2, and 3. After the first 3 chapters, Hosea doesn't mention Gomer's name again for the rest of the book. It's like that story is part of just laying the foundation, and then he gets into the message that God has for his people. It's this prophetic book that he continues on, and it's much more direct. He's like, y'all see it? Now I'm going to say it. Like he fully gets to the point. And so this is God calling not only the Israelites out, but calling us out on a lot of levels. Saying that your lack of faithfulness, my lack of faithfulness, our lack of a steadfast love, the one that he shows us, and we do not return to him on the daily, that's the controversy we have with God. And he's saying, not only do you not love me and show it to me, but y'all don't even know me. He's saying there's no knowledge of God in the land. I don't usually do this, but every once in a while I'll dig into the language of the text a little bit just to pull some more meaning out of it. So we're going to get real down and nerdy today. The word for knowledge there that's used is da'ath. I think we have the Hebrew. It's like kind of pictured there. Yeah, da'ath. That word for knowledge comes from the root word yada. Yada. Anyone ever tell you a story and they kind of try to skip to the end and be like, yada, 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 the end of the story, right? They'll start the story and they're like, yada, 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 the end, right? There's some speculation about the connection of these two things, that this Hebrew word, I think we have that one too. Yeah. So that word to know is kind of like, and you know the rest, right? You know the rest of the story and so on and so forth. It'd be like saying, well, it's actually not like saying long story short. This is a side note. I'm going to rant for a second. Have y'all ever heard someone say long story short? Have you ever noticed that the people that say long story short aren't telling the short version of the story? Drives me crazy. If you're not laughing and you use that phrase, you're welcome. I'm giving you some self-awareness today with a bow on it. Long story short, you didn't tell me the short version of this story. Drives me nuts. Not the same. Anyways, yada, yada. So, yada, 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 you know the rest of the story, right? I cannot help but think of Seinfeld. Anyone Seinfeld fans in the house? Okay. It's okay. We're all sanctified and justified by the grace of God. So, I can't recommend the show, not only the show, but this episode. But I think of this episode, George is getting to know this character, this female story. I don't remember her name. But George is dating this woman, and he's getting to know her, and she's a yada yada-er. She'll say a story, and she'll be like, yada yada yada, the end of the story. And at first, George is like, this is so nice. This is so convenient. I don't have to listen to a whole story. I just get the main points. I get the beginning and the end. It's like reading the first and last page of the book, right? I get the whole thing until he starts asking more questions, right? He thinks he's getting to know this person, but she's skipping over the biggest details of the story, very significant details, where he realizes he doesn't know her at all, right? She turns out to be a very different person than what he originally thought or maybe even expected. And this is kind of the sentiment that God is expressing to the Israelites, that you think you know who I am and you don't. You think that you love me and you don't. You think that you're expressing what I'm expressing to you and you're not. This is what God is saying to his people. He's calling them out and he's calling us out, that just because they had this inherited identity as Israelites, that they were supposed to be the people of God, and they thought that that would cover them. Doesn't. They thought because of the religious rituals that they had in their relationship with him would cover them. We would make up, God, look at all this stuff we do. Doesn't this make us your people? No. How many of us know that religion is not the same as having a relationship with God? I love that you're here on Sundays. Love it. I'll be here too. This does not make us God's people. Showing up on Sunday and being here for an hour does not make you a Christian person. It's not a bad thing. I'm really glad you're here, like I said, but this doesn't just make that happen. God doesn't work on checkboxes. He wants a relationship with the real you. A relationship that's real outside of these 6 walls, 8 walls. How many of walls we got? He wants something that's real with you so he can be a part of your life. He calls this out in Hosea chapter 6, verse 6, I think we have that too. For I desire steadfast love, not sacrifice, the knowledge of God rather than burnt offerings. God wants for you to know him. He wanted the Israelite people, his people, to know who he actually was. He wants you to know who he actually is today for you and for your family and for our community and for our church. This verse actually comes up in the New Testament. Jesus quotes the prophet Hosea when he's speaking to the Pharisees. Let's look at Matthew chapter 9, verse 13. He says, go and learn what this means. A little context for the text. The Pharisees come to him and they're like, bro, what are you doing sitting with sinners and tax collectors? Jesus had just called Matthew, like somebody that would not normally be expected to be one of the followers of Jesus. And the Pharisees come to him and they're like, what are you doing? What is this? How can you call yourself a Messiah and sit with these people? And this is what he says. Go learn what this means. Remember Hosea? Y'all know Hosea. Remember this? Remember when he said, I desire mercy and not sacrifice? I came to call the righteous, not the righteous, but sinners. Jesus was saying, I didn't come to call you because you think that you're righteous with your religious rituals. I came to call sinners. That's who Jesus came for. He came for you and he came for me to make a way for us to have a relationship with him that's real. Not based on religion, not based on empty works, not based on what we can try to do to make ourselves feel better or earn our own righteousness, but rather on what he was going to do on our behalf. He says, I desire mercy and not sacrifice. He wasn't looking for these things to be the only substance of the relationship that he was having with his people. That's the controversy that he presents. Where are my married folks at? Married people in the room? Y'all can make some noise. You're excited about married, right? You're excited to be married. How many of y'all thought you knew who you were marrying? Just because you got married doesn't mean you knew. The act of getting married doesn't mean you knew everything about the person. It doesn't mean that you would know through all the different phases and changes of life that you would experience, that you would know everything about them, that you'd know everything about you. This is the layers of the relationship that we have with God. In a relationship with him, in a covenant relationship with him, like the one that you are in if you're married, that's a relationship that endures change, that you continually learn, that you continually grow as you take steps, as you go through things in life, as you face changes, you face struggles, you face challenges, you have joys and hardships. The same thing is true in our relationship with God. And he walks with you every step of the way. And if you're tuned into that relationship with him, you're going to learn more about yourself and more about him. That's what he wants in a relationship with you, is an ever-growing, constant learning, a knowledge of who he truly is to you. And in all of our relationships, not only in our marriages, but also in the rest of our lives, our family relationships, our work relationships, our community relationships, our relationships with strangers. He works in all of them. And so as you get to know God over all these different phases, all these different eras, it leads to an increased intimacy that you have with him. But like I said, being here on a Sunday, praying a prayer one time in youth group, that act doesn't make you a Christian person. That act of one time saying, Jesus, I realize I'm messed up and I need your saving grace. That one time doesn't necessarily make you a follower with Jesus. He wants your heart, he wants your soul, he wants your mind. To love him with all your strength means to love him every day in an intimate knowledge of him. So we have the controversy, that's made very clear. And then there is a call back to him. There's a call back to God. Not only to the Israelites, like Hosea gave a call back to Gomer, his wife, but also a call back for us. Hosea chapter 7, just a couple verses. This is God giving Hosea words to speak to his people. So he's talking about the Israelites here. All of them are hot as an oven. They devour their rulers. Their kings have fallen, and none of them calls upon me. The pride of Israel testifies to his face. Yet they do not return to the Lord their God, nor seek him for all of this. A little more context. Over the 20 years or so leading up to Hosea's prophecy, the Israelites had gone through severe turmoil, not only socially and culturally, but politically. Like, their kings were being assassinated. This is literal talk here. Their rulers being devoured, their kings fallen. That's literal talk. 4 kings in the Israelite kingdom were assassinated over the course of the past 20 years. And even though all that time had passed, none of the Israelites, not the people nor the rulers, had called upon the name of God for help. None of them. He's saying, you've gone through all of this, and yet you have yet to call upon me. Yet to look heavenward for help. Friends, who do you turn to when stuff gets real in your life? Who do you look to when life gets crazy? Where's the first place you run? Do you look to the wisdom of the world to try to solve and serve up solutions to the problems that it has created? Or do you look to the one, the only one, who knows exactly what's happening, exactly what you're going through, and he went through it himself so that he can answer your most desperate crying out prayers and say, I see you, I got you, I understand you, and I love you? Do we turn to the world or do we turn to Jesus? You're going to go through stuff. You are, I promise. If you haven't already gone through a whole bunch, you're going to go through a lot very soon. Our lives are filled with struggle. They're filled with challenges. Even in the good times, it's really hard sometimes to do life. And that's why we want to do it together, but we also, even more so, want to do it with Jesus. Constantly reminding ourselves to turn to him for a supernatural sense of wisdom, discernment, sometimes just some patience, right? To deal with the things that we face in this life. Where do you run? Who do you turn to? Is God using some people in your life? Do you have some relationships in your life? I mean, I think of people like in our church that I can very quickly turn to. I can pick up the phone and I can call them, I can text them. I think of people from my past that are great influences, longtime mentors in my life. Do you have some great, solid, Jesus-loving, following relationships that you can say, hey, I'm going nuts. What do I do? And then God uses them to speak his wisdom to you. That's another way that God speaks. So I don't mean only sitting down and opening up your mouth to pray, but I also mean opening yourself up to be vulnerable with someone else in a circle of community, to be able to say, I need help. I'm going through something, I'm struggling, and I need help. God hears that prayer, and God answers it every time. It might look a little different than what you expect. It might take a little longer than what you'd hoped. But God's listening, and he loves you, and he cares about the situation that you're in. I was reading this, and y'all know me, so like if you've been here for a couple weeks, y'all know me enough. I don't usually get like very political from the pulpit, but I couldn't ignore the fact that God here was talking about the rulers that were in place over his people. And as we talk about that kind of a text, I can't help but think about the rulers that are in place over us as God's people. And it makes me just pause for a second and think, politically speaking, we have a whole lot of praying to do. Let's be a people that prays for those in power. Let's be a people that leverages influence and social media and networks and our prayer lives to lift up positive prayers for those who are in power, for those who are in office. I would invite you to just take this text, and I'm not going to go on a whole tangent here. I'm really trying to hold myself back. You see my seatbelt? I got it on. Let's just be a people who prays. really positive prayers for those who are in power. Pray for who you voted for, and pray for who you didn't vote for. These people are in office by God's sovereign ordainment for our good and for his glory ultimately. And we trust him with that no matter what. Let's be a people that lead by example. As we turn to God, we pray that our rulers would turn to God. I digress. So there's a controversy that's clearly presented. There's a call back that God is calling back his people. And then we get a comeback. We get the comeback that God is not leaving them, even though they'd experienced the consequences of their sin. God would not forsake them forever. Even though they would experience exile, they'd be scattered abroad, they'd be dominated by the Assyrians, the Israelites would be scattered. And we will also, in the same way, face the consequences of our disobedience, our infidelity, our lack of a steadfast love towards God. He doesn't leave us alone forever. Hosea chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. By far my favorite verses I've read in this book so far. Come, let us return to the Lord, for he has torn us that he may heal us. He struck us down that he will bind us up. After 2 days he will revive us, and on the third day he will raise us up that we may live before him. See, the Israelites had to learn the hard way. You caught that? They had to go through some stuff. I don't know about you, but I hate having to learn the hard way. Do you not? I'm like, God, you couldn't just tell me? Couldn't just have this divine revelation one time I'm reading my Bible and he'd be like, oh, by the way, da-da-da-da, right? Learn this lesson real quick, right? No, I got to go through something to learn, oh boy, that's how that works. Shouldn't have done that. Should have gone this other route. Sometimes we have to learn the hard way with God. Sometimes he will use experience as the best teacher for us. And in the same way that the Israelites had to learn the hard way, sometimes you're going to have to learn the hard way. Just know, maybe you're in the midst of that right now. Maybe you're like, man, I don't even know what this means. I haven't even learned yet. I'm just in the hard way. This just feels like God's teaching me something the hard way. In that moment, in that season, when you're learning that lesson, he is with you. He has not forsaken you. He's not left you alone. You're not learning by yourself. Not only is he with you, but we're with you as a church. There's probably some other people in this room that learn the same thing and could probably help you along the way. They could hold you up a little bit. They could support you and encourage you and inspire you. Those are the kind of relationships that are available in this room. But what's really cool is how this points not only to our coming back to God and turning to him in times of need, but it ultimately points and prophetically speaks about the best and most ultimate, greatest comeback of all time. Look at this, verse 2. It says, on the third day he will raise us up, that we may live before him. That whole 3-day thing sound familiar to anybody? After 2 days he will revive us. On the third day he will raise us up that we may live before him. Y'all, Hosea didn't know Jesus. He didn't know the story. This is thousands of years before Jesus arrives on the scene. God is giving Hosea prophetic words to not only speak these words, but prophesy about a coming Messiah who is going to save his people. Not sparing them from exile or sparing us from the consequences of our sin, but saving us in a more impactful, spiritually significant way for eternity. Because on the third day, not only was Jesus raised up, y'all know that story. I'm glad to know that story, that thankfully I lived thousands of years after Jesus was here, because I would have had to see it to believe it. I need to know that story to believe it. And yet we put our faith in a resurrected Messiah, one who has been raised up. We put our faith and our hope and our trust in Jesus because he did that. He was raised up, and as we are raised up with him, we are able to live before him. We're given a life to live with him, both now and with him forever. So the Israelites are called to come back, and they're given a hope. that even in the midst of it, there's one who's coming, and he will fix everything. If you're in here today and you don't feel like that's happening for you, you don't know what that even feels like to have a hope in something or someone that can fix all the mess that you find yourself in, I'm here to tell you about Jesus. He is the one that we put our faith and hope in for every situation, for every struggle, for every sin, that he has taken care of it in the form of the resurrection. That as he was raised up, we're given life. It's not just a full and abundant and joyous life here, but it's a life that's lived with him in eternity in heaven. My desire, our hope for you as a church, is that you would know that hope. It's that you would know, truly know, have a working knowledge, an intimate knowledge of Jesus, who he is for you every day. That knowledge is what he wants for you, to have a relationship with you. I'd love to talk about that with you. If you're not sure what that looks like, grab me, grab Gabriel, grab somebody with a badge or was on stage. We'd love to talk to you about that relationship and just talk about what it would look like for you to have a relationship with him that's real. If you've been walking with Jesus for some time, take this text as a call back to him, for you to come back and see him for who he really is, to turn to him first in those situations when we're tempted to run elsewhere for hope and satisfaction, for answers and solutions. Let's turn to God. He's the one who knows. He's the one who loves you and going to see you through it. Let me pray for you. Lord, we thank you that you are a God who sees us. You're a God who knows us. God, you are not distant and removed from our situations, but you are with us and you know us and love us intimately and personally. God, in a way that we could only hope, and our efforts will still fall short to ever know you like that. But God, as we hear you calling us back to you today, would you make yourself available? Would you make yourself accessible? That we'd be able to see who you are working and moving in our lives every day. God, I pray for the person in here who does not know you. God, that you would just make yourself available. Just make yourself very visible. That this would be the sign that they've been asking for, that you are real. And you're a God who wants a real relationship with us as your people. Hear our prayers and hear our worship today as we bring it up to you in Jesus' name. Amen.